What's up guys, my name is Morgan and I have recently graduated my UX design bootcamp, and today I want to talk to you about how you can graduate your bootcamp early as well. I know you're probably thinking, Morgan, there's no watermelons on your couch. Morgan, you're wearing makeup. Morgan, you brushed your hair. Morgan, you're not wearing an ill-fitting t-shirt. That is correct. I had an interview. So I'll probably make a video about that in the future, whether or not I get the job just interviewing right out of a boot camp. I think that you could gain a lot of value from hearing my experiences so far, but that's a future video. Today we're going to talk about how to graduate your boot camp early, and these are 8 tips that I actually used myself. So tip number 1 is to set really ambitious goals for yourself. So if you go to a boot camp like I did, Career Foundry, you are sort of left unsupervised in the sense that you don't have to attend things at a certain time every week. It's very flexible in how you submit your assignments. So what I did was I would aim to submit 1 assignment every day. And when I couldn't meet that goal, I still found myself submitting 4 or 5 times a week. They recommend to stay on track 1 to 2 tasks per week. So I was already completing everything in half the time. So that is tip number 1. Sort of like a little subsection of that would be verbalizing those goals, whether it's to yourself or someone else, some way to keep you accountable. Tip number 2 would be to track your habits. So I know that some people, their brains work in the sense that they can write a to-do list and then they actually do those things. Not this guy. I found that what actually works for me is tracking my habits. So what I did is I made a Notion account and I used their habit tracker template and I used it as my productivity tracker. So each column is something different that I would want to work on every month. So one column would be designing, one column would be my Career Foundry assignments, one would be my NYU course, one would be reading, one would be YouTube, whatever I would want to work on. So when I saw that I would go, 4 days without submitting anything or 4 days without, opening an assignment or anything, that sort of gave me like the kick in the pants that I needed in order to keep going and to hold myself accountable with like, okay, well, there's the actual evidence that I have not seriously worked on a task in a long time. Whatever a long time is to you is up to you. I would say don't go any more than 2 days without opening an assignment. I would say don't go more than 4 days without submitting an assignment, but it all depends because some tasks, usability testing depends on other people. It all really depends. But the point is, track your habits to see if you're actually working. Tip number 3 is to always read the next lesson. So what I would do after completing a task is immediately reading the next lesson because that would give me a head start. Even if I didn't want to complete a second task that day, it would give me a head start the following day. So that way I either didn't need to read the lesson at all and could just get right into the assignment and I had a nice night of brainstorming, or I can reread the lesson and just get a better understanding of what's expected from me. So there's a real benefit in reading a lesson. Even if you're tired, just read it. Just read the next lesson, get yourself a head start so that way you can be like, okay, I read it tonight, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Tip number 4 is to recognize when you're getting analysis paralysis. So if you don't know, analysis paralysis is when you spend so much time analyzing something or researching something or preparing for something that you don't actually pull the trigger on what it is that you need to do. So I recommend that you really learn how to differentiate productive preparation from overanalyzing to the point where you're not really learning anything new, or you're overanalyzing to the point that you're not learning anything necessary. So that's a huge thing. I still struggle with it. I have always been this person who needed to know every little thing before they did something, and it leads to huge procrastination problems. A lot of you probably have it and don't even realize it, where you feel like you're being productive because you're doing all this researching, but in reality, you're avoiding the actual work. So get good at recognizing analysis paralysis. Number 5 is to set rewards for yourself. So this is a pretty common one, but what I would do specifically is I would reward myself after reading a lesson with a 10-minute YouTube video. If it's 20 minutes, I only watch 10 of it. And then after I hit a milestone in the task, then I could watch the rest of that video or watch another video. And that is how I would reward myself. I would reward myself with free time. I do want to note that normally what I would watch would be UX related or otherwise personal finance related or just something else that I think would help make me productive. Number 6 is to ask for help. So you can get stuck, whether it's you don't understand the information, you're having a technical problem, you just have a creative block. There are people for you to reach out to. Your bootcamp should have some sort of community. Whether you're in a Slack group, whether you are in a Discord group, whether you have a mentor, a tutor, an advisor, you should have people to talk to and express these concerns to. You can get stuck on a project for 3 days because you have technical issues or you don't understand how a program works or something. So it's just really important to ask for help, even for the smallest things. If you're like, I don't feel like I'm ready to hand this in because something's off about it, ask people. Just keep it moving. If you really don't understand something, it's taking you more than an hour to figure something out, it's time to ask for help. Number 7 is to find a work buddy. So this could be an actual study buddy from your design bootcamp or another design bootcamp, or you can do what I did, which is hang out with people who have to do their own work unrelated to design. So I would hang out with my roommates or my boyfriend in our living room, and we would all be doing our own work, and even though we didn't know what the other person was doing, you still can't be watching YouTube videos or online shopping or else someone's going to call you out, or you yourself feel embarrassed because you're like, everybody else is working and I'm over here, buying M&Ms on Amazon. Lastly, number 8 is to remember why you're doing this. Remember your goal. Whatever motivated you to start the bootcamp in the first place, whether it's to change careers, which is most of you out there, including myself. I wanted to change careers as quickly as possible. So I worked my ass off, and I treated this like a full-time job with overtime to finish early, even when I was sick. Even if your motivation is that you spent a lot of money on this course and you don't want it to go to waste, that's the reason. I do want to remind you to not put quantity over quality. If you're watching this video so that way you can finish your bootcamp early because you just don't want to do it and you're doing subpar work or lackluster work and you don't really care how your portfolio turns out, just save yourself time and money and try and get your money back and quit. Why are you here? You should want to finish your bootcamp quickly because you're trying to reach a goal quickly. But that does not mean that you should sacrifice everything you're learning. You're paying for the knowledge. Career Foundry or General Assembly, they're not giving you a portfolio. You're supposed to work for that. So if you go to a job interview and you have a really project on your portfolio, who's gonna hire you? Why are you here? Because I've just heard that so often that people like the idea of being a UX designer, but don't really want to learn. They just think that it's so easy, and it's not. So, sorry, I got a little heated there. Really remember quality over quantity. Remember that. Remember that there's a reason why you're doing this, and if you're half-assing it, that's on you. And nothing's going to come of this bootcamp. If you think a certification matters, you are so wrong. It's the portfolio, the case studies, and the skills that matter. Focus on those. Nothing is more important than that. Even if you take an extra 2 months to finish, if you absorb that information better, good. Make it worth it. Okay guys, so those were my 8 tips on how to finish your UX design bootcamp early. I hope that you found it helpful. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I would appreciate if you gave this video a like so that way other people can see it. And have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.